guys, it's Danny. It is March. Where is the year going? Everything is just moving so fast, isn't it? Well, today it is time to recap the orchids we had in full bloom or close to being in full bloom in the month of February. And as always, you guys are welcome to follow the link down below in the description and vote for your favorite one. At the end of the year, we will declare the Orchid of the Year 2020. Get your wish lists ready because we are going to recap the orchids in bloom in February. I was thinking about changing the name, changing the format a little bit since I've been doing it for 5 years now. This is the 5th year of Orchids in Bloom as a series, but I didn't really decide yet on a format. If you have suggestions, I'm all ears, leave me a comment, but until then, Orchids in Bloom it is. So without further ado, let us start. First, let us start with a Cattlianthe, and yes, you're not seeing double. I do have two of this one. This is the beautiful Cattlianthe Gold Digger. Fun fact, I've had this one for a very long time. She's been under a lot of stress over the years, but she's still around. It's not my very first Cattlianthe ever, it's my second. And this little girl is one that I received from one of you lovely subscribers. They're both very, very dear to me, but I don't want to keep both of them. I want to give one away for one of you to enjoy. And since this is my second Cattlianthe ever, she means a lot to me. I will be giving away this little Cattlianthe. Now, a few words on the Gold Digger. This is a beautiful golden orchid that digs at your heart. This is how I like to think of it. It is a tall orchid, bifoliate, with a bit of an unruly tendency. You need to stake it, you need to keep it under control, otherwise it's gonna go all over the place. Other than that though, she is wonderful. The blooms are obviously very, very pretty, and they are also slightly fragrant. To me, they smell like oranges, or better said, those effervescent vitamins that smell like or actually taste like orange. And I am in the mood to take a vitamin right now because I really, really like that taste. And on the throat, on the lip, you can see we have some red specks, which just add to the overall display of the orchid. She can have multiple flowers per flower spike, but as I was saying, mine has been through a lot. I know at some point it had Fusarium. I'm not sure if it still has it. Hopefully it doesn't. It's just another reason for me to actually keep my old one rather than giving it away, because it might actually still have Fusarium, still have issues, and that's never fun. I can deal with them. But this little girl, she is strong. She has a really nice root system at the moment, which you can see through the pot here, and it will grow to be just as tall as this one. Next up, we have a cute little Oncidium type. This is Oncidium Haruri popcorn, or no, popcorn Haruri. And it doesn't look like it now, but when the flowers first open, they have a yellow color, which really reminds of popcorn. I do have footage with this orchid on my second channel. I have a few care tips there as well, so I'll link you to that down below. Now, as you can see, after a few weeks since the flowers have opened, it is all pale pink. Now this, as I was saying, is an Oncidium type orchid, and I do treat it just like an Oncidium. It has a downfall though, a really, really steep climbing tendency. Other than that though, she's a very easy to grow orchid. Stays really tiny, the orchid herself, but the flower spike is really, really tall. As for the flowers, they are not fragrant. I did not detect anything, but they are really pretty, and I do suspect as it grows, it will have more and more flowers. The flower spike can also branch a little bit, which adds to the display. And overall, it really does remind me a little bit of the Tolumnias, because the plant itself is so tiny and the flower spike is just so tall. Very typical Tolumnia. If you know, Tolumnias used to be called Oncidiums, but not anymore. Not sure if they're related, but they do look a little bit similar. Next up, my beautiful, beautiful red Cattlianthe, which used to be a NoID red Cattlianthe, but you guys, I just found the ID 5 minutes ago. I'm actually recording this today because I just found the ID. So a little bit about the orchid first. It is indeed what you see on the screen, a very, very, very red Cattlianthe. It's a vampire red, if you know what I mean, type of red. Very striking, very bold. I am in love with this color, and that accent, which is so golden and yellow on the lip, makes for such a wonderful contrast. I kid you not, it is the most beautiful red I have ever seen on a flower, and that includes roses, tulips, and whatever other red flower you know of. This is the reddest of the red. All that's missing is a perfume. There is no fragrance or perfume from this orchid, although if I stick my nose into the flower, I can detect something a little bit lemony, but it is so mild and insignificant, I think, compared to other fragrant orchids that really, I don't want to get your hopes high. Let's just say it's not fragrant. But now let's talk a little bit about this ID, because I think I found the only available picture on the internet of this orchid, and it's coming from a Greek orchid society. So I started a little bit from the Cattlianthe idea, and I went back and forth. I actually visited the Gold Digger's parentage as well, because that one is a Cattlianthe as well. Even if I called her a Cattleya, everything is a Cattleya for me, to be honest, but the proper name is actually Cattlianthe. So I searched and searched and searched, and at some point I find a very low resolution picture on the internet on Google Images of something that looks like this one with a Cattlianthe name, and it was Cattlianthe Lady in Red. Now I couldn't find any picture on Bloom Orchids, and if you look up this hybrid you will not find a picture, but it is registered. It's an old hybrid. So I looked closer at the entry in the Greek Orchid Society, and I can recognize her anywhere. It is this one. This is what I have, the Lady in Red. And it's a very old hybrid, it appears. I don't know why it isn't more popular, because it blooms multiple times a year. It's a standard size, it's not very, very tall. It's a bifoliate. The color is amazing. There is no fragrance, but no one cares at this point. I am almost certain it is the Lady in Red. Take this with a grain of salt. It's not 100% sure. It's just me trying to identify something, just to put a tag on this, just to show it to you, just so we all know what it is when it doesn't have flowers. More than that, you need proper tags for hybridization contests and things of the sorts, you know? So that's how I do things. That's why I am 99% sure that this is the Lady in Red. Very, very rare hybrid. You know those videos with rare plants tour and stuff, and when you look at the video there's nothing rare there? I dare say this is my first ever rare orchid. I have not seen it anywhere. There are no pictures on the internet. I've never seen it in a nursery. There is one single picture of it on the Greek Orchid Society website. Not even Bloom Orchids has a picture of this one. It is a very old hybrid. Therefore, I consider it my one and only rare orchid. Yay! And I don't think I'm lying when I say this, but yeah. Let's move on. It just so happens that my logo looks identical to this orchid. We created that logo before I found this orchid, so there we have it. But yeah, maybe some things just have a reason for happening. Easy orchid to take care of. If you see it in flower shops, get it. It is rare. I am sure of that. And as it usually goes, flower shops have no idea what they're selling, and most probably you will find it at just normal flower shop prices. Next up, another orchid that is very, very, very dear to me. This is the Renanthera monachica, almost in full bloom, but I decided to film her this month because next month will be the Phalaenopsis month, and yeah, it's gonna be a little hectic then. But we only have 4 more buds to open here and another 4 or so here. So the show is already super, super nice. The Renanthera is a Vandaceous orchid that does wonderfully potted as well. She enjoys bright, bright light, very close care to Vandas with some small exceptions. I do have a care tutorial for Renantheras, check it down below in the description. The main difference in my opinion, to summarize that tutorial, is that these guys really do like their water. I don't think they enjoy drought, or actually they tolerate drought as much as Vandas. Hence why they are a little bit more fitted for potted culture, for more water retention in their medium and things of the sorts. Other than that, very, very similar orchids. But when it comes to the blooms, oh my goodness, how wild are those blooms. Bonus, she's a little bit fragrant. To my nose, she smells like watermelon combined with a little bit of orange. It is a very slight and subtle fragrance. Don't imagine it's gonna be this wonderful perfume that kicks you out of the room. No, it's just very mild. I did not know the Renantheras could be fragrant. I did not find this information online, but mine is, at least. I'm not sure if all of them are, but it is a nice little bonus because even subtle, I do love the smell of oranges. I think oranges are my favorite fruit, so everything that reminds me of oranges, I absolutely like. Next orchid, this is another Vandaceous orchid. It's the Ascocentrum christensonianum, and it might look big right now on your screen, but look at this. Look how tiny it is. It is, I think, my tiniest Vanda, and obviously the flowers are super tiny too, but they're just so cute. So I bought this orchid actually because of the flowers. You might know me, I'm not a huge fan of pink or purple, but there are some tones which I really like. Typically the sweeter tones, the warmer tones, and I think this one has a really nice color. It verges a little bit towards magenta, and magenta I'm okay with. And also, who can pass on those tiny little flowers? I think I've discovered along the years that I do actually much more prefer flowers or plants that stay compact, that produce more compact flowering, even with the African violets. I love the big ones, I love their flowers, but I so wish they were tinier and more compact. I do enjoy the minis and the semi-minis a little bit more than the big ones. However, though, there are so many beautiful big orchids that, what to do? You cannot only have small ones. However, this one is absolutely fantastic. Oh, come here, Maya. Let me show you something. So because my little girls want to go back in the cage sometimes, they get a little bored of the outside world, I made them a little ledge. And they're not used to it just yet. I think I will switch it. But what's happening is they don't like to step on the flat side of the dish, but the raised side, which is kind of obvious. It kind of slipped my mind. So if I do this, Maya's a little bit confused and she doesn't really know what to do right now. So I need to address that, and I need to make this little ledge flush. Even though I love you guys so much, you're just so silly. But I love you. Okay, let's go back to the orchids. So the christensonianum is perfect for those of you who don't have a lot of space on your windowsills but do enjoy this really nice display of blooms. Can you see it's actually just as big as the orchid? I will be sure to make a care tips tutorial on my second channel about this orchid. It's just gonna be a really fast one. There's not a ton of things to say about this orchid. She's very easy, very suited for beginners as well. So I'll be sure to have a spotlight and a care tips on my second channel, which is MissOrchidGirl 2. You have links down below in the description. Next up, we have a really elegant orchid, at least in my opinion. Here is one of the saved Oncidiums from last year. I believe this is a Tahoma Glacier variety. Now, if you'll search pictures of the Tahoma Glacier, you will find that it doesn't look identical to what you see here. So initially I thought it could be something else, but looking at it now, no, I think it is the Tahoma Glacier. We also have this yellowing on the edge of the lip, which some varieties of the Tahoma Glacier have as well. So it's just one of the varieties, one of the glitches, which just happens to be really beautiful and has this really nice red or cherry red spot of color. It also has the same peppery fragrance of the Tahoma Glacier and other Alicearas. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's not very strong. So that's okay with me, but I do know people really love the peppery fragrance, and it is quite unique. But what I really love about this orchid is its elegance. All Alicearas, in my opinion, have a sort of elegance to them. No matter the color and the exact shape, they're all elegant. I don't know how it happens, but I believe that as a cut flower, it doesn't last as long. But it is truly beautiful. Next up, we have another Cattleya, and what a beautiful display this is. This is Cattleya or LC Trick or Treat, and it's one of the most vivid Cattleyas that I have. When it first opened, it used to be a very bright orange, but as the flower aged, I do see that the petals have deepened in color. They are now a little bit darker, but the lip remained a very bright orange, which gives it a little bit more depth, a little bit more dimension, doesn't it? It's a wonderful Cattleya type, which can produce a lot of flowers on a flower spike. It does actually remind me about the Rupiculus Laelias in shape. It has this beautiful star shape, and if I look into the parentage, I'm sure I'm gonna find a Rupiculus Laelia out there. This is not a fragrant orchid. I do not detect anything, but I find it quite typical with all of these very close Laelia hybrids. The Rupiculus Laelias are not known to be fragrant, at least to my knowledge, and the research that I did so far. So don't expect that really flowery fragrance from this one that Cattleyas are typically known for. It is not that type. But I think these hybrids are really popular for their flower display. They are cluster bloomers, and the shape of the flowers is quite telling of the parentage. I do really like this Laelia shape a lot. Next up, here we have a Phalaenopsis, and it is one of the more popular hybrids out there. This is the wonderful Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory variety Liodoro. There is another variety called Bubble or Bubbles or something of the sorts, which is very similar but not really identical. Now, this orchid is very, very popular due to its fragrance, which for the longest time we suspected it's more similar to the fragrance of the Violacea, but it's not. And I can't believe I didn't realize it. Somebody told me at some point that even though we find the parentage of this one as Violacea crossed with something else, it's actually the Bellina, because at some point Violacea and Bellina were one and the same, and then at some point they split them into Violacea and Bellina. So this one has more of a fruity fragrance to it. The Violacea is very sweet, the Bellina is very fruity, and this is just as mouth-watering, to me at least, as the Bellina. It's not identical. This one tends to have more of a sour fragrance to it, not really like the Nelly, but a little bit more lemony than the Bellina. For this reason, not everybody likes the fragrance of this particular one, and I can see why. Lemons, are not everybody's favorite. But the vast majority of people do really enjoy the fragrance of this orchid. It is, I think, the main attraction of it. Flowers look absolutely gorgeous as well, but the orchid herself is big. She looks like a typical flower shop Phalaenopsis, doesn't she? The flower spikes are triggered by the drop in temperatures. It's a sort of Bellina that blooms in the winter, which is okay with me. Remaining in the realm of Phalaenopsis, here is another one that I actually recently purchased from Orchids Deluxe, but it lost its initial flush of blooms and it created more and more buds. And oh boy, isn't she wonderful? She's pyloric, but it's the type of pyloria which in my opinion is the most flattering. As you can see, the petals, which are trying to imitate the lip, are not actually closed, they're flat. And in this way you can actually see the flower so much better. I didn't tell you the name. This is Phalaenopsis Yaphone Green Batman. It does not scream Batman to me. If it were a darker color, then yeah, I would see why Batman, but hey, I'm not gonna argue with the creativity of the hybridizer. So this is an orchid which I'm not entirely sure if it's a sequential bloomer. It could be, it might be not. It doesn't really strike me as a summer blooming species, hence why it's not in bloom in the summer, but right now. So typically these orchids which don't bloom necessarily in the warm weather are not sequential bloomers. So I will let the flower spikes be, see what they do, but I think this is just a continuation of the initial flush of blooms since the temperatures were kind of low still when I received this orchid. Otherwise, the orchid looks just like a typical flower shop Phalaenopsis, quite a big hybrid as you can see, but the flowers are absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy I received this one. I actually received it in a mystery box from Orchids Deluxe. I purchased the Christmas one, and this is one of the orchids that was in the box, and I don't regret it. It's such a beautiful, beautiful Phalaenopsis. Next up, yet another Phalaenopsis. It has started. I have a lot of Phalaenopsis. Prepare to see a lot of them soon. So this is the Little Gem Stripes, and isn't she glorious? She's the first Phalaenopsis actually to be in full bloom. The other ones are still opening their buds. This one is the first one to spike actually. And yeah, just look how pretty she is. I really like contrast, you guys know that, and contrast with white is one of my favorite things. As a side note, miniature Phalaenopsis are amongst my favorites because they're so tiny, so compact, and this flush of blooms, look at them, it just fits in my palm. This is what I want. I want to have enough space to have 100 of these. The mini Phalaenopsis, oh, they're so adorable. This one isn't fragrant though, but the flowers are really pretty. It's a very common hybrid, appears a lot in flower shops all over the world, and I do believe it's worth it. Next up, here we have the Epicatlia Renemarchis Flamethrower Sally. This year, the display is not super awesome because she's infested with thrips. I am treating her, but being that she has green pigment, which I suppose it's chlorophyll on the flowers, the thrips have attacked the flowers. This really didn't happen with a lot of orchids. That's why I could actually save many of the already in bloom orchids. This one though, you can see there is a lot of grazing on the green part. So yeah, sadly, display wise, It could be better. It's destroyed this year, but I know how to prevent this from happening. You have down below a video talking more about this orchid, and you can see her there in her glory days when the flowers looked a lot better. But this is such an easy grower for me. She enjoys everything that a Cattleya enjoys. She's growing taller and taller every year and blooms more and more and more. There is no fragrance, but can you see how beautiful those flowers are, even if they're grazed and the display is ruined this year? It's one of my absolute favorites because she's so wild, but that beautiful color contrast, oh, I just love it so much. Too bad about the thrips though, but it's okay, I'll do better next year. And the last orchid we're gonna include in the voting today is this NoID pink Phalaenopsis orchid. See what I mean? A big orchid, a long flower spike, and flowers at the end of the flower spike. Takes up a lot of space. Look at my arm in comparison to the flower spike. It's beautiful. It's just not for me. So I really have to think about my Phalaenopsis collection, and I think I'm gonna give some of them away. But for now, I'm not sure what I'm gonna keep and what not. This is a really beautiful pink color. It's one of those sweet colors that I enjoy. I've had her for about 4 years already. It's one of the IKEA saves. I think my boyfriend got it for me without flowers for our anniversary. He got me a lot of discounted Phalaenopsis from IKEA, which was super sweet of him, but I have so many Phalaenopsis. It is time to think about creating some space. Anyway, here it is, the NoID pink Phalaenopsis. Okay, now for 3 orchids which will not be included in today's poll simply because they're not at their best. You're gonna understand why in a second, but I did want to show them to you. So first of all, this one. I talked about it in a previous video. I said that I'm noticing a little bit of color anomalies here and also some flower anomalies. Do we see these 2 flowers? Don't look so good. I'm gonna give you some close-ups. Well, all of the flower spikes that I had on the orchid are now open and all of them have anomalies. At first I said that I don't think it's a virus responsible for this. Maybe the mealybug that I had might have distorted that flower, but now that I see all of them acting this way and not all of the flower spikes had mealybugs on them, I don't know what to say. I think this one has some issues. Being that she is new in my collection and I received it from a friend, it's very dear to me. I don't want to give it up. I will hang on to it. I will try to treat it nice and let it adjust to my environment. This is the first blooming in my environment on the first canes. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But at this point, this might actually be color break, although it doesn't really look like it. It might just be, I don't know if this one has a virus or a problem or something contagious. She will not sit on the same shelf as the other ones, sadly, which breaks my heart. I don't like when my orchids might have issues. So this is the Jewel Box Orange, and what a beautiful orchid she is. What a nice color. But yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm hoping nothing, but I'm not sure. Next to it, we have the wonderful Potinara Hoku Gem Sunspots, and I already talked about it in a different video. This orchid actually had scale and I kept her bare-rooted for the past month. Now she looks clean. She also was in bloom, but the blooms didn't last all that long. So I'm not gonna enter her in the competition because she can do better than this. I didn't even detect a fragrance. She might have a fragrance, so no point in voting for her now. I'm gonna let her just recover. And this, oh my goodness. This is a yellow Ivanagara apple blossom. It's called Green Elf. No, Golden Elf, sorry. So you can see we have 2 flowers in bloom here, but she actually had more buds. It's not funny, Joey. That were attacked by mealybugs, and you can see some white residue there. I treated it, but it was too late. The buds were already affected. Not to worry though, I do have other buds on the way on a different growth. Not as many as there were here, as the growth is kind of tiny, but I'm keeping an eye on it, so no mealybug will spoil my precious flowers. But I think you can see the flowers were just so pretty. There is also a fragrance, and it's very similar to the Ivanagara, the normal one, but it's not as strong and it's not as minty. I don't know how to describe the apple blossoms fragrance rather than minty freesia like. This smells a little bit like freesia, but very mild. Also, you can see the flower is not as big. It's not the same, but the color and how beautiful this is just overtakes a little bit the fragrance aspect. So yeah, sadly I lost this flower spike, these buds, but I'm keeping an eye on the other ones. So I will feature it when these buds that we have here are open. So hopefully I will not lose them. So yeah, these are the only 3 that I will not include in the poll today. Alrighty then, that's about it for today. It is nighttime here, and let me just show you how my ladies sleep. They actually sleep together in the same nest, and now they are arranging themselves. They just got in the nest. They're so sweet. They always sleep together. And in the nighttime, I actually do close the cage because if there's any night frights and they start to fly and hit the walls and everything, I don't want to think about it. So for now, it is bedtime and we're gonna be up and up to no good and pooping in my greenhouse tomorrow. So you guys know the drill. Like or dislike this video below, subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, orchids in bloom, all sorts of orchid topics. Do visit my second channel for African violets and other types of videos as well. Who knows what I will post there, it's gonna be a surprise. And also follow me on my socials, Instagram and Facebook. It's always good to stay in touch there as well. And with that said, I'll see you next time. Bye!